Welcome to Longevity Codes with your host, Fred Herbert. This podcast is about living a longer, healthier, and more active life. Each week, Fred shares strategies from experts about not only living longer, but helping us discover our personal longevity codes to live life to the fullest. This podcast is sponsored by RedoxLongevity.com, where we'll discover what experts are calling the most amazing breakthrough in our lifetime that affects health, anti-aging, and sports performance. Learn more at RedoxLongevity.com. That's www.RedoxLongevity.com. And now, here's our host, Fred Herbert.
Do you recognize the name Jack LaLanne? It may depend on your age whether or not you recognize that name, but for us baby boomers, we know him as the man who really started the American fitness revolution. And he's often been called the godfather of fitness. I clearly remember watching his workout show on an old black and white television when I was a young kid. He always wore a tight workout pantsuit that showed clearly how great a shape he was in. He was the first to promote the importance of fitness and nutrition together. Jack often said, "Exercise is king, nutrition is queen. Put them together and you have a kingdom." Arnold Schwarzenegger said this about him, quote, "Jack LaLanne was 30 years ahead of his time. He's truly the Terminator of unhealthy living. He possesses the secret formula for the fountain of youth." End quote. Jack died at the age of 96 and was truly a remarkable man. He could still be alive today, but his family says he developed pneumonia and refused to go to the doctor. You can learn more about him on JackLaLanne.com. Here's just a short list of some of his accomplishments. His Jack LaLanne TV show ran from 1951 to 1985, and he was a real hit with the ladies. He created one of the first fitness weight training studios. He invented weight training machines. He was a big believer in juicing, and he did that for over 70 years. He started off with a press that would juice fruits and vegetables, and he felt it was one of the factors that made up the fountain of youth. And in the 1950s, his innovations included protein drinks and protein bars. But what I think was remarkable and should make us all reconsider what our bodies are capable of is his feats of strength, many after the age of 60. There's a long list, but here's just a few. When Jack was 42 in 1956, he set a world record doing 1,033 push-ups in just 23 minutes. In 1974, at the age of 60, Jack swam from Alcatraz Island to Fisherman's Wharf for the second time, handcuffed, shackled, and was towing a 1,000-pound boat. In 1979, at the age of 65, he towed 65 boats filled with 6,500 pounds of wood pulp while handcuffed and shackled in Lake Ashinoko near Tokyo, Japan. And in 1984, at 70 years old, again handcuffed, he must have liked handcuffs, he was shackled and fighting strong winds and currents, but towed 70 boats with 70 people from Queensway Bridge in Long Beach Harbor to the Queen Mary, 1.5 miles. I could go on and on about this amazing man. Check it out for yourself. Now here's how Jack cracked the longevity codes. First, Jack was a big believer in fitness and exercise. Here are a couple of his sayings about exercise. He often said, "First we inspire them, then we perspire them. Better to wear out than rust out. You eat every day, you sleep every day, and your body was made to exercise every day." And my favorite, he said, "People don't die of old age, they die of inactivity." That is so true. And Jack also believed you should never skip cardio exercise. He was a big believer in full body fitness, not just a focus on one muscle group. The second key we learned from Jack was his belief in nutrition. In fact, he was known as the first person to point out the need for a combination of fitness and nutrition. Here's a few of his sayings about nutrition. Don't exceed your feed limit. The food you eat today is walking and talking tomorrow. 10 seconds on the lips and a lifetime on the hips. I remember that one. If man makes it, don't eat it. If it tastes good, spit it out. I'm not sure that one's true anymore because you can find really healthy food that tastes good. And he often said, what is it doing for me? What I ask myself is, will it help me or hurt me? And lastly, he said, eat right and you can't go wrong. Jack was known to have a very strict diet and used to have just 2 meals a day. As mentioned earlier, his philosophy was, if a man makes it, don't eat it. He was always in favor of eating raw rather than eating cooked foods. His diet included plenty of fruits and vegetables, and he stayed away from meat and only ate fish. He had a heavy breakfast of oatmeal, seasonal fruit, and plenty of hard-boiled egg whites with soy milk. Then his second meal of the day was dinner, which consisted of fish, a large portion of salad, and several egg whites. And Jack stayed completely away from snacks. His don'ts were no dairy, no coffee, and no sugar. Now, more recently, coffee has proven to have health benefits, so I'm not sure I'd agree with Jack on that one. But Jack practiced what he preached. He believed in developing good habits and daily rituals. Here's a sample of his daily routine. Most of his life, he got up at 4 a.m., but in his latter years, he moved that to 5 a.m. Jack would do weight and strength training for 90 minutes a day. He ate 10 raw vegetables throughout the day, and as mentioned earlier, ate only 2 meals a day, a late breakfast and an early dinner. Wow, another thing he was ahead of his time on. Sounds like he was into intermittent fasting. And in addition to his 90 minutes of strength training, he either walked or swam 30 minutes a day. And he kept that up way into his 90s. James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits, said this about Jack and his habits. Quote, Jack LaLanne lived an incredible life and he mastered something that we can all benefit from, the daily routine. Is there a skill that is more valuable than the ability to consistently work towards goals that are important to you while maintaining a sense of perspective and happiness? It's not the incredible achievements, but rather your daily habits that determine who you are and what you accomplish. Get your habits handled and the rest will fall into place. If we can take this small lesson and apply it to our lives, there's no doubt we will all be better off for it. End quote. I think the other big lesson on longevity from Jack is to be active no matter how old you are and never let age hold you back from doing anything. It's a mindset issue, and it's obvious that Jack pioneered that as well. He often said, anything in life is possible and you can make it happen. Jack was motivational and inspirational to all of us who are looking to crack the longevity codes. Once in an interview, Jack was asked about reversing the aging process. Jack said, quote, absolutely. For example, take a guy that's 60 years old and has an exercise. Say you exercise him for 6 to 8 weeks. You can double his strength and double his endurance. Test after test has been done all over the world to prove this. They have taken people in their 90s and put them on a weight training program and doubled their strength and endurance. Just think what the younger people at 50, 60, 70, and 80 can do if they can do that with 90-year-olds. End quote. He was then asked in the interview if he thought that even though we all are aging every day, could exercise counteract that? Jack replied, absolutely, you can ward it off. You can prolong your life. I've outlived the age of maturity. I have shown my system works. It definitely worked for Jack LaLanne, and many of his principles will work for you. I mentioned earlier that Jack's diet had a lot of egg whites. Jack passed away before the low-fat myth was debunked when all the experts told us egg yolks were bad for you. I wonder if he were alive today, if he might just eat the whole egg. The wisdom of this man lives on, and he was an amazing example of living life to the fullest. Here are a couple more pearls of wisdom from Jack. He said, it's not what you do some of the time that counts, it's what you do all the time that counts. Work at living, and you don't have to die tomorrow. Your health account is like your bank account. The more you put in, the more you can take out. And I love this one. He said, I can't die. It would ruin my image. While researching for this podcast, I watched some videos of Jack when he was in his 80s and 90s. I highly recommend you do the same. I guarantee you can never look at aging the same after you see how fit and energetic he still was in his 90s. Jack gave us a new perspective on health, fitness, and what's possible no matter what your age is. What an extraordinary teacher, and his legacy continues. Jack's example fits perfectly with what Longevity Codes podcast is all about. We want more. We want more years, more strength, clarity, fun, more purpose and freedom, more travel. And we want more of everything that Jack spent his whole life advocating for. Remember, longevity is not about adding quantity to our years, but it's about adding quality to those extra years. Join me next week as we continue our journey to crack our own personal longevity codes and get more out of life.
Thanks for listening to Longevity Codes. For more information, go to longevitycodes.com. To learn more about our sponsor, check out redoxlongevity.com. Tune in to next week's podcast, where you'll learn more strategies on living a longer, healthier, and more active life.